Blacksmithing has become a lost art, but we use it every single day and still look at it as an extremely valuable part of what we do.
It's something from the old, from way back.
There's not a book that you can go read that will tell you how to produce the things that are produced at Urban Forge.
It takes a craftsman to do something like this, to make everything look natural.
Being in a creative environment like Urban Forge, it's very inspiring.
Whenever I told them I was going to the Ironworks, a couple of my friends were worried because it's obviously not the easiest line of work in the world.
Seems like every other day there's something new to be learned here.
It takes a lot of patience to become a blacksmith.
Every swing of that hammer has to be intentional, and it's coming from the mind of a person who's trying to move this thing into shape.
And it's a wonder that it can be done. As many guys as we have being able to do it, you know, and work together and build so many different things.
We want to make sure that the product is perfect as a handmade product can be.
When you're making something by hand, they don't always turn out exactly the same, and I think that is what makes them unique.
We don't want anything going out of our shop that looks like it could have been fabricated in mass. We want it to have the look and the feel of a handmade work of art.
We do know from the historical record that there were ancient pieces of iron and even bronze that were shaped with heat and force of a hammer and then the skilled hand of a blacksmith. So been around for a long, long time.
In the old days, they thought blacksmiths were almost magic, and they were highly regarded. It was a professional career. They were regarded in the same way that attorneys or doctors were, except I tell people they had more reliable outcomes, that they could pretty much depend on making that work. I read a study recently that said that there were fewer than 500 full-time blacksmiths working in the United States today. Taught classes here in my shop, at the Ozark Folk Center, at the Arkansas Craft School, at Eureka Springs School of Art. You know, essentially blacksmithing is heating it up, changing the shape, and letting it cool. But the thing that I like the most about it is that it is a tangible thing. There's no intangibles about this. The material, the thing that you're using, has no limitations. Obviously, different metals react different ways, but it's your job to learn what to do, how to do it, when to do it. It has been a key part of the development of civilization, actually. There were blacksmith shops that people could make a living out of that did general blacksmithing work up until about 1960 or 65. In farming communities, ranching communities, mining, timber industry, they were still able to make a living. But these days, you have to be a crafter, you have to be an artisan.
I think what makes our people tick here has somewhat to do with the kind of environment that we're in right now. We live in a small community in the hills of Arkansas. The old timers call it hard scrabble because people worked really hard just to put a living together and did everything that they could do to make that happen. And so it's a tough environment, and people who grow up working hard have the attribute that you need in order to be a blacksmith in this kind of environment. But you also have to have creativity. So if people like Daniel, I can hand something off to Daniel and say, Daniel, I want you to create this table, and I want this table to hold up a thick piece of glass with branches, and I want it to have birds, and I want it to be a fall table, so there should be hand-forged leaves laying on the ground below it at the base. And Daniel will take that idea, and in his mind he pictures it, and then he can make his hands create that. And it's precisely the kind of people that we need in order to make a place like this work in such an isolated environment like the hills of Arkansas.